Don't expect inheritance, my dad said at his birthday dinner. Everything goes to your brother. He gave me grandkids. Everyone nodded. I smiled and said, "That's fair." They had no idea I'd been paying Dad's pension, $4,800/month for 6 years after his company went bankrupt. I stopped the transfers that night. When his pension check didn't arrive, "Don't expect inheritance," my dad said at his birthday dinner. Everything goes to your brother. He gave me grandkids. Everyone nodded like he'd said something normal. My brother laughed into his beer. My mom kept cutting the cake. Across the table, my daughter's hand froze on her fork. I smiled and said, "That's fair." They had no idea that I'd been paying my dad's pension, $4,800 a month, for 6 years since his company went bankrupt. They had no idea that the only reason he could afford that stupid steakhouse, the house, the leased truck, the golf, all of it, was me. I swallowed my food, put a hand on my daughter's shoulder when I felt her stiffen, and I didn't say a word. I just decided. I was done. I'm Justin, 39, marketing manager in Columbus, Ohio. Divorced, 1 kid. My daughter, Emma, 9. She's a quiet kid. Soft voice, big eyes, always reading, always sketching little comics in the margins of her homework. She says thank you to waiters and apologizes when other people bump into her. She is, apparently, not a real grandchild, not according to my dad. Emma isn't biologically mine. My ex-wife and I couldn't have kids. We adopted her when she was 2. I fell in love with her the second she fell asleep on my chest in that cramped county office waiting room. I never thought of her as anything but mine. My parents never really got there. They said the right things at first. "We're so happy for you. Family is more than blood," stuff like that. But then there were the little things. The Grandkids group photo Emma wasn't in. The mug on my mom's shelf that said "World's Best Grandpa," with only my brother's kids' pictures printed on it. Christmas stockings with my brother's 3 kids' names embroidered, and a generic guest stocking hung for Emma, just in case she came this year. I told myself they were just clumsy, old-fashioned. I gave them so many passes I could have started a punch card. At the same time, I was the one they called when life hit them hard. 6 years ago, my dad's manufacturing company went under. His pension vanished with it. He called me the day after the bankruptcy meeting. "They stole my retirement," he said. 40 years gone. "I don't know what we're going to do, Justin." He didn't ask for money straight out. He didn't have to. I did what I always do. Opened a spreadsheet. I ran the numbers. Their mortgage, utilities, groceries, meds, car payment. I watched the total climb and my stomach sink. I had just been promoted to marketing manager. I had a decent salary, a 401k, a bonus structure. I was finally breathing after years of scraping by. So, I made a choice. "I'll cover you until you get back on your feet," I told him. "We'll set it up as a monthly transfer. You can call it pension, if that helps." We agreed on $4,800 a month. I set up an automatic transfer from my account into a high-yield checking account I opened under my name with him as an authorized user. He got a debit card and a direct deposit every first of the month. The bank statement said pension disbursement. He liked that. He could keep his pride, and I could keep them from losing the house. The first month, he cried on the phone. The second month, he complained about how little Social Security was. By the 4th year, he referred to it as my pension, so often that sometimes I forgot it wasn't real. 6 years, 72 payments. $4,800 x 72 equals $345,600. $345,600. I knew the number. I kept the spreadsheet. I also kept my mouth shut. Back to the birthday dinner. It was his 70th. We were at his favorite overpriced steakhouse because you only turn 70 once. My brother, Dan, his wife, and their 3 kids. My parents. Me and Emma. Emma had made him a card. She'd worked on it all week. A little cartoon of my dad playing catch with her in the park. Something he'd never actually done, but she liked the idea of it. She slid the card across the table when the cake came out. "Happy birthday, Grandpa," she said, quiet but clear. He barely glanced at it. "Thanks, kiddo," he mumbled, already looking at the waiter, already focused on the candles and the attention. Dan's kids handed him a store-bought Hash 1 grandpa mug. Everyone oohed like they'd invented glass. He laughed, clapped one of them on the back. "My grandkids know me so well," he said. Emma pulled her hand back and folded it in her lap. I felt my jaw tense, but I'd learned how to unclench it over the years. Then the conversation turned, like it always does, to money, my dad's favorite topic. Dan was complaining about daycare costs and club soccer fees. My dad shook his head, playing the wise elder. "Don't worry," he said. "One day when I'm gone, you'll be taken care of. The house, the truck, what's left in the accounts. It's all written down." My mom nodded like she'd been practicing the speech with him. Dan joked, "Guess I picked the right parents, huh?" Everyone laughed. Then my dad said it. "Don't expect inheritance," he said, looking right at me. "Everything goes to your brother. He gave me grandkids." Forks paused in midair. My brother's wife did this nervous half-laugh. My mom didn't say anything, just pressed her lips together like she was too polite to agree out loud. And then, because the universe has a sense of timing that's almost cruel, the waiter put a slice of cake in front of Dan's kids and passed right over Emma. He didn't mean anything by it. He was just following the pattern of who had been talking about grandkids. Emma watched the plates land in front of the other kids. She looked down at her placemat. "I'm a grandkid," she whispered. No one heard but me. My hands shook under the table. I put my palm on her back and gave it a gentle rub. I smiled at my dad. "That's fair," I said. He smirked a little, like he'd proven a point. I excused myself a few minutes later, saying I needed to take a call. Instead, I stood in the hallway outside the restrooms, hands braced on the cool wallpaper, breathing slow so I wouldn't cry. This wasn't about the inheritance. I didn't want his truck. I didn't want the house with the leaking roof and the decades of cigarette smoke in the walls. It was the sentence he gave me grandkids, like Emma wasn't sitting right there, like I hadn't been paying for his life while he pretended she didn't belong in it. They didn't know it yet, but that dinner was the last time I would ever pay for my father to erase my daughter. We dropped them off at their house afterward. Dan's kids piled out first, chattering about cake and presents. Emma climbed out slowly, clutching her coat around her. My dad slapped the side of my car. "Drive safe," he said. "And hey, don't worry about what I said in there. You've got your career." Dan's the one up to his ears in kids. It's different. I just nodded. On the drive home, the highway was mostly empty. Emma watched the dark outside her window. "Dad?" she asked. "Yeah, Bug. If Grandpa leaves his house to Uncle Dan, where do we go?" My throat closed. "We already have a house," I said. "Our house." But he said, she swallowed. He said Uncle Dan gets everything, because he has grandkids. "You're my kid," I said. "You're my whole everything. That's what matters." She nodded, but I could see it. That little crack, that seed planted in the back of her mind that she wasn't quite real to them. She fell asleep before we got off the freeway, her head against the window. When we got home, I carried her in, tucked her into bed, and kissed her forehead. Then I went to my desk, opened my laptop, and logged into the bank. The pension account sat there on the screen. Account ending in 6,134. Available balance, $2,127.56. Next scheduled transfer, March 1st, $4,800. Recurring monthly. I stared at the numbers. My cursor hovered over Edit Transfer. I thought about the past 6 years, the extra hours at work, the freelance consulting gigs I'd taken on to cover the gap, the nights I sat up reviewing campaigns so I wouldn't lose my job and my parents' safety net. The weekends I said, "Not this time," to Emma when she wanted to go to the water park or sign up for dance because I'd already sent the money for my parents' property taxes, the way my dad complained if the deposit hit a day late because of a bank holiday, the way my mom purchased matching Christmas pajamas for Dan's kids and said she forgot to ask Emma's size. My hand stopped shaking. I clicked Edit Transfer. A small box popped up. Change transfer/cancel transfer. I hit cancel. "Are you sure you want to cancel this recurring transfer?" the confirmation box asked me. "This action cannot be undone." I read it twice. Then I clicked yes. Another screen. Transfer successfully canceled. No fanfare. Just one less line in my list of scheduled payments. Then I opened my budgeting spreadsheet. I deleted the row labeled Parents, Pension. The monthly total at the bottom dropped by $4,000 $800. For the first time in years, my projected savings line jumped into a number that looked like a future and not a hostage situation. I sat there a long time, just staring at it. Then I opened another browser tab and set up a new automatic transfer from my checking to Emma's $529 college savings plan, $1,500 a month, beginning March 1st. The rest, extra for us. For emergencies, for breathing room. I closed the laptop. I didn't text anyone. I didn't make a speech. I went to bed. The first of the month came on a Tuesday. I barely thought about it in the rush of getting Emma to school and joining a 9 a.m. Zoom. Around 10:30, my phone lit up with Dad. I let it go to voicemail. 2 minutes later, Mom. Then Dad again. By the time lunch rolled around, I had 6 missed calls and 1 text. Dad, call me. Something's wrong with the pension. I made a sandwich. Fed the cat. Answered a couple Slack messages. 20 minutes later, another text. Mom, honey, your father's very upset. The pension payment didn't hit. Can you check your account? Maybe the bank made a mistake. I stared at the message for a long second. Then I replied. Me, no mistake. The 3 dots popped up almost immediately. Mom, what does that mean? I didn't answer. 20 minutes later, my dad called again. This time I picked up. What's going on? He demanded. No hello. The pension didn't come. I called the bank. They said there's no transfer scheduled. Yeah, I said. I canceled it. Silence. You what? His voice dropped an octave. I canceled it. I repeated. I've been paying it for 6 years. I'm done. That's my pension, he snapped. I earned that. I worked 40 years for you lost your pension when the company went bankrupt, I said. You know that. What you've been getting every month is money from my paycheck. He laughed, short and humorless. Come on, Justin. Don't be dramatic. We're talking about the pension. I'm talking about the transfer that comes out of my checking account on the first of every month, I said calmly. The one I've covered through promotions and side gigs and saying no to things for Emma. I'm not doing it anymore. You can't just stop. He said, we have bills. The mortgage? The truck? You knew this was temporary, I said. You told me it was until you got back on your feet. And we haven't, he shouted. We're on a fixed income. We're too old to start over. What, you want your parents to lose their house? I thought of Emma's face at that restaurant, the way her shoulders folded in when he said he gave me grandkids. You told me not to expect inheritance, I said quietly. You said everything goes to Dan because he gave you grandkids. That was a joke, he snapped. No, it wasn't, I said. You meant it, and that's fine. It's your will, your house, your money. But I'm not going to keep paying for a life that doesn't include my daughter. I won't fund a family she's not part of. So this is about that kid. He said it like she was a stray dog I dragged home. My vision went white at the edges for a second. She's not that kid, I said. She's my daughter. If you can't see her as your granddaughter, I'm not your pension. You're punishing us, he said, over feelings. I'm setting a boundary. I said, you asked me for help. I helped. For 6 years, nearly $350,000. I'm done, he scoffed. You think we owe you a medal. That's what children do. They help their parents. Yes, I said, and parents don't call their grandchild fake in front of a restaurant full of people. We're done with the money. You'll regret this, he said. Don't come crying when Dan can't help us and you realize what you've done. I won't, I said. Goodbye, Dad. I hung up in the middle of his next sentence. Then I put my phone face down on the table and went back to my spreadsheet. The fallout came fast. That afternoon, Dan called. What did you say to them? He asked, as soon as I answered. Hi, Dan, I said. I'm good, thanks. Don't start, he snapped. Dad's freaking out. Mom's crying. They said you cut off their pension. I stopped sending them $4,800 a month. Yes, I said. That's not a pension. That's me. He laughed like I'd told a bad joke. You don't make that much money. I'm a marketing manager at a national firm, Dan, I said. You'd be surprised. Okay, Mr. Big Shot, he said. But why now? You've been doing it all this time. Why suddenly act like a martyr? It's not sudden, I said. It's 6 years late, and I'm not a martyr. I'm a parent. I'm choosing my kid. He sighed dramatically. This is about the inheritance thing, isn't it? It's about my daughter sitting at a table where you and your kids are real and she's invisible, I said. It's about Dad saying out loud that I don't matter because I didn't give him grandkids. That's not what he meant. He said exactly what he meant, I said. And that's fine. He can leave everything to you. But he can't expect me to keep bankrolling him while he pretends my family doesn't exist. Dan lowered his voice. Look, can you just keep it going a few more months? At least until they figure something out? They're talking about selling the house, and if that happens, guess who they're moving in with? Not me, I said. Then it's me, he said. And we don't have the room. The kids need their own space. It's going to be hell. I'm sorry, I said. And I meant it. But that's between you and them. I've done my part. You're being selfish, he said. You don't even have real responsibilities. It's just you and that kid. That kid. I ended the call. Then I blocked his number. The next week was loud and quiet at the same time. Loud on my phone. Voicemails, texts, emails. Quiet in my house. Mom, we are heartbroken. How could you do this to us? Mom, we didn't mean anything by what we said. You know your father has a sharp tongue. Mom, it's an adjustment. Dad, you're overreacting. Dad, you owe us after everything we did for you. Dad, this is your last chance to fix this before we change the will for good. I didn't answer. One night around 7 p.m., there was a knock at my door. Emma was on the couch, drawing. The cat was sleeping on her feet. I looked through the peephole. My parents on the porch, bundled in their coats. My dad looked furious. My mom looked like she'd practiced her sad face in the mirror. I opened the door but didn't move aside. We need to talk, my mom said. Emma's here, I said. If you're here to say she's not your grandkid again, we don't. My mom winced. Justin, that's not what happened. My dad pushed past her. Can we please be adults? He said. You stopped those payments without warning. We have bills due. The mortgage is behind now. We got hit with overdraft fees. You're putting us in a hole. That's how holes work, I said. You keep digging until someone takes the shovel away. We're your parents, he snapped. You're supposed to help us. I did. I said I helped you more than anyone knows. Now I'm helping my kid. My mom stepped forward, lowering her voice into that soft, manipulative tone she uses when she wants something. We understand you're sensitive about Emma, she said. We're trying. It's just different with Dan's kids. They're biological, I finished. I know. You've told me. More than once. It doesn't mean we don't care about her, she said quickly. She's sweet. We just won't call her your granddaughter, I said. Won't put her picture on the wall. Won't include her when you talk about family. She hears you, you know. My dad waved a hand. We're not debating feelings. We're talking about money. You can't just pull the plug and expect us to survive. You told me I'm not part of your legacy, I said. Believe it or not, that made things very clear for me. I'm not your backup bank. I'm not your pension. I'm your son. A son you don't respect. So no, I don't owe you financial support anymore. My mom's eyes filled with tears on cue. You're really going to let us drown because of one sentence? She asked. No, I said. I'm stepping out of the water you've been holding me under for years. You can sell the truck. You can get a roommate. You can downsize. You can apply for the state programs you refuse to look at because you think they're for other people. You have options. I'm not one of them. My dad's face reddened. This is Dan's wife, he said. She says this is exactly what your therapist told you you'd do. Cut off your family. Blame us for everything. Hide behind that kid and your fancy job. It almost made me laugh. My therapist had in fact told me to build boundaries. It's not hiding behind my kid, I said. It's standing in front of her. That's my job. Emma peeked over the back of the couch then, eyes wide. Dad, she asked, is everything okay? I looked at her and softened my voice. Yeah, bud, we're just talking. My mom followed my gaze. She cleared her throat. Emma, sweetheart, she said, smiling too big. We love you. Emma just nodded and went back to her sketchbook. My dad stepped backward like he'd hit a wall. So that's it? He asked. You're just done with us. I'm done paying for you, I said. If you ever decide to be grandparents to Emma, we can talk. Until then, you're off my accounts. I held the door open. My mom's face crumpled for real this time. "You'll regret this when we're gone," she said. "Maybe," I said. "But Emma won't regret that I chose her." They left. I locked the door. I exhaled. Life didn't magically turn into a movie after that. There was no triumphant music, just space. Space in my budget. Space in my head. I reworked my finances. I paid off my credit card faster than planned. I boosted my emergency fund. I doubled down on Emma's college account. I signed her up for the art class she'd been asking about for a year. When the email confirmation hit my inbox, it felt like a tiny rebellion. A week later, my Aunt Lisa called. My mom's younger sister. She lives 2 hours away and never really gets involved in the drama. "I heard what happened," she said. "Your mom's been calling everyone, trying to get them on her side." "Let me guess," I said. "She left out the part where Dad announced I don't get inheritance because Emma isn't real." "She left out a lot of parts," Lisa said dryly. "Your cousin was at that dinner. Word travels." I winced. "Great. Relax." She said half the family thinks you finally did what someone should have done years ago. The other half is pretending this is brand new behavior from your parents. "I just wanted to check on you." "We're okay," I said. "Better, actually." There was a pause. "You know you're welcome here anytime, right?" she said. "You and Emma. My girls would love to see her." "Thanks," I said, throat tight. "Also," she added, "for what it's worth, I've seen your spreadsheets. You've done more for them than any child I know. If they can't see that, that's their problem." After we hung up, I found Emma at the kitchen table, bent over her sketchbook. "What are you drawing?" I asked. She turned the book around. It was our house, me, her, the cat. A little speech bubble above my head. "Want pizza night?" She'd drawn a big tree behind us. On the branches, little name labels. Emma, Dad, Aunt Lisa, her cousins, a couple of friends from school. On the trunk, she'd printed in block letters, "Our family tree." "Do you like it?" she asked. I swallowed hard. "I love it," I said. "Should I put Grandma and Grandpa on it?" she asked, almost casual. I thought about it for a second. "If you want to," I said, "or you can wait and see how they act." She nodded. Then she shrugged and turned back to the page. "Maybe later," she said. We didn't go to my parents' house for Easter that year, or Mother's Day, or Father's Day. I sent a simple text on each holiday. Happy Mother's Day, Happy Father's Day. No emojis, no photos. Sometimes they replied with a thumbs up, sometimes they didn't. They never asked to see Emma. I didn't push it. Instead, Emma and I started our own things. We had pajama picnics on the living room floor with takeout and a movie. We painted cheap canvases on the back porch. We went to the park on Sunday mornings with a thermos of hot chocolate. That fall, Aunt Lisa invited us to a big family barbecue at her place. I hesitated, then agreed. My parents were there. We arrived late on purpose. I didn't want to be in the small talk wave. Emma clung to my hand at first, then relaxed when she saw Lisa's girls waving her over. My parents were sitting at a picnic table under a tree. My dad looked older. My mom looked tired in a way that wasn't just makeup deep. They watched Emma run across the yard with other kids, laughing, her ponytail bouncing. For the first time, I saw something like regret in my dad's eyes. He walked over, slower than he used to. "Hey," he said. "Hey," I answered. We stood there, side by side, watching my daughter climb onto a tire swing. "I heard you sold the truck," I said. He nodded. "Sold the truck. Refinanced the house. Your mom picked up some hours at the bookstore. Card at the grocery store." I nodded. "I'm glad you found solutions." He cleared his throat. "Dan can't help," he said. "He's barely keeping up with his own stuff." I didn't say I know. I just let the silence sit. After a moment, he said quietly, "We were wrong. About her. About you." I didn't look at him. I watched Emma. She was pushing another kid on the swing now, laughing so hard her shoulders shook. "I know," I said. I thought he blew out a breath. I thought blood mattered more. What we did for you when you were a kid meant you'd always take care of us. I didn't see what you were already doing." "You saw it," I said. "You just didn't respect it." He flinched. "You're not turning this back on again, are you?" he asked. almost shy like the question embarrassed him. "No," I said. "I'm not. I won't put us back in that position." He nodded slowly, like he'd expected that, like he'd rehearsed it and was still hoping I'd say something else. "Can I?" He swallowed. "Can I talk to her properly this time?" I thought about all the years, the omissions, the comments, the card at the steakhouse he didn't even read. Then I looked at Emma. "This isn't about me anymore," I said. "Ask her if she wants to talk to you. If she does, you start with an apology, not excuses. If she doesn't, you respect that." He nodded. He walked over to the swing set, hands shoved in his pockets. I watched him kneel down so they were eye level. I couldn't hear what he said over the noise of the yard, but I saw him gesture to his chest, then to her. She listened, face serious. Then she said something. He nodded. She considered him for a second, then gave a small shrug and handed him a push on the swing like she was willing to start at zero and see if he could handle it. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt steady. Later that night, after the drive home, after Emma fell asleep with grass still stuck to her socks, I logged into my bank account out of habit. The parents' pension line was still gone. The Emma college fund line was healthy, a number that meant choices for her, not obligations to them. I closed the laptop and turned off the light. My parents might never be the grandparents she deserved. They might show up sometimes and disappear others. That was on them, but the era of me breaking myself financially to keep their world spinning while they erased my kid, that was over. And if Emma ever asked me years from now what changed, I'd tell her the truth. It changed the night my dad said, "Everything goes to your brother." He gave me grandkids, and I finally believed him. And then I chose her instead.